It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary Excuse me.
What?
He is King Eric.
That's right.
And I'm Gary McNamara.
King Eric the 121st. I figure I'd go big. If you can pick your name, you just go with King Eric the 4,326th.
He is King Eric. I am Supreme Leader Gary. Leader isn't good enough.
Supreme Leader. That's the one that comes with extra tomatoes and sour cream.
The only thing is, if I'm going to call myself the Supreme Leader, I should find myself a bunker.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't want to ever. Right now, probably not a good time to pick that name.
Yeah.
It appears right now, in the last hour or so, we've got some breaking news coming out of Tehran. Israel is saying that they have killed the top military leader of Iran, who was just promoted days ago, when the other top military leader of Iran was killed in their first strike. So the question would be, in this latest barrage of attacks on Tehran, are they going after, and this is one thing that Benjamin Netanyahu said over the weekend, I wouldn't rule anything out. It would end the war, when he was asked, or when it was brought up, about taking out the Ayatollah. And so he didn't rule it out. Trump has talked differently in recent days, and I don't know if that's a genuine difference or if that's tactical in nature in terms of trying to get Iran to the table. I can't tell you. But the question is, there were, again, it seemed to be multiple missiles and strikes on Tehran over the last couple of hours by Israel. And is this, again, an effort to take out the Ayatollah? Is the Ayatollah even in Tehran?
Yeah, I mean, we were wondering, why was Trump saying everybody get out of, Tehran? And you also had Israel putting warnings out before that. And you were looking at some of the pictures of the traffic jams of people heading out.
Yeah.
Like 9 million people. Are in that city. So actually, it would take days for everybody to get out.
Yeah, it would be. I don't know typically I don't know what time the video was taken, and I don't know what traffic normally looks like, if it's normally heavy traffic anyway in Tehran, or if this was a result of. It seemed to be, the timing seemed to be that this was as a result of what President Trump put on social media. And also, again, what others, as you mentioned, Israel has actually warned over the weekend.
And so, we were wondering, okay, are they going to hit? What's going to happen? And, inside Tehran, there was questions. You saw it all over social media. What are they hiding? Do they have, is part of their nuclear program hidden under populated areas? Well, we now know, because after it was announced, in a few hours afterwards. By the way, Trump is back from Canada. I just saw that.
Yeah,
as a lead headline.
Right.
But when we saw that, we went, okay, is this just information? And then we heard multiple explosions, and then the IDF came out and said that they've killed the wartime chief of staff, who was the government's top military commander, in a strike in Tehran. So they hit the staffed command center that's in the heart of the city. And this is a man, Ali Shadmani, who served as wartime chief of staff and commander of the emergency command of the Iranian armed forces. And at the start of the operation, he was appointed to command the Iranian armed forces after his predecessor, Ali Rashad, was eliminated in the opening strike of Operation rising lion. Under his command, the Emergency Command Center in the middle of Tehran was responsible for managing combat operations and approving Iran's firepower plans. So that happened here overnight. The other story that we just found very, very interesting, and this came out right before that story did, is that there's the headline. Where's this from? Okay, this is from Fox News. Israel's U.S. ambassador says beeper operation will seem simple compared to what is planned for Iran. Mm-hmm. Is it just me, or are these people talking too much, or are they talking too much for a specific reason?
Well, again, if, when he says when all the dust settles Thursday into Friday, okay, well, you're talking days away, and what does that tell us? Now, they were talking, in fact, you had the IDF intelligence chief, Bender, who last Friday was talking about, essentially said on Friday that Israel is entering an existential campaign against Iran, and Amman is operating at the highest level of readiness to disrupt Tehran's nuclear and missile programs. And then just a little while ago, so that was ahead of, and during what was going on, and also what has happened this morning. And just after what has happened this morning, again, taking out Iran's top military leader, who was just promoted days ago, after the other top military leader was assassinated, taken out in that strike, in that first set of strikes. This IDF intel chief, Bender, said just a little while ago his intelligence staff, in fact, he told this to his intelligence staff, that they broke through Iranian defenses to pave the way into Tehran and to strike Iran's top military commanders. He added that his intelligence staff's work will continue to break through and strike more sensitive Iranian targets in real near future. More of kind of I guess, a morale talk, really, in a statement was about an hour after the IDF on Tuesday assassinated the replacement Iranian wartime chief, Khamenei. And so, again, it is an ongoing thing. I don't think Israel has any interest in getting them to the table. I think with the way Benjamin Netanyahu was talking over the weekend, I think he would, if it were up to him, the supreme leader would already be gone. I don't know what has changed with President Trump, or if they have told President Trump we have no choice because they're just going to keep, doing what they're doing if we don't take out, cut off the heads of the snake, so to speak. So I don't know.
Well,
it's impossible to know.
When you had Jonathan Karl ask that question twice to him, though, yesterday, when he said, there's a disagreement between them, and he said, I wouldn't jump to conclusions there. Right. Again, you don't know. The one thing is, when you think about this whole thing started. All the attacks started after disinformation from the Israelis and the administration. To think
on the talks, yeah,
right, to have Iran think that they weren't going to go in, right, that talks were possible, right. So I don't buy any of this talk stuff right now at all. I mean, because the other story is from Axios stating that the United States is having talks to have talks.
Yeah. The White House is discussing with Iran the possibility of a meeting this week between the U.S. and envoy Steve Witkoff and Iranian foreign minister as well, according to 4 sources briefed on the issue. By the way, we don't even know this, and that could be. New York Times, by the way, has a similar story. Trump's Iran choice: last chance diplomacy or a bunker-busting bomb. Well, because the one in Axios is he's using the bunker buster as leverage to bring Iran to the table. Yeah.
And
again, after what Netanyahu says, and Netanyahu could be throwing up, again, smoke as well. We don't know. I don't think Netanyahu wants to be at that table. I think after the regime is gone, he's willing to sit down with new leaders, but I don't think he wants to have any discussions. I don't think he believes there are any serious discussions to be had.
Well, I don't think they want the discussion because I think they want. I think the Israelis want, number one, the nuclear weapons program gone completely, and they want to send a message that any future government that wants to restart it again, here's what happens to you. When they talk regime change, because, I saw some of the Trump surrogates, because there's a big argument now. Is Trump now not MAGA because he wishes to go to war? And it's just, and he went to see Trump on Truth Social say kooky Tucker Carlson was interesting. I had to check to make sure that wasn't the Babylon Bee.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's where you have.
Yeah.
So you have to double check. Okay, let me triple check this one just to make sure. And so the question that we asked is, why did he didn't have to put that message out last night? He could have ignored Tucker Carlson. Why did he do it? What was the purpose of doing it? And with, again, disinformation when you're at war, you don't want Iran to know what you're going to do. And they pay attention to everything. It's an open book what the United States is doing. The news media is all over the place. If they're in Iran, they can get it. They know it. They see all the headlines. But the fact is, what do you believe right now if you're Iran? If you're the Ayatollah, what do you believe right now as to what's coming out of the United States?
Yeah, you can't believe anything.
You can't. You can't. But I believe that they want the nuclear program decimated, and they really don't care. If the nuclear program's decimated, there is no negotiations needed.
I think you could believe, if you were the supreme leader of Iran, you could believe that if you were to go into peace mode and then there were trade with the United States, that there would be tariffs on Iran. But other than that, I don't think you could trust anything else. And, it's, looking at the set of events over the last 24 hours, it really is crazy.
By the way, you have to produce something that could be tariffed in order to be tariffed.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they do produce a little bit of oil, but mostly what they produce is Brent crude, and we don't use that.
But to bring that up, though, there's been a lot of not surprise, but realization. I don't want to say surprise, it'd be the wrong thing, but realization that the world is producing quite a bit of oil because this whole thing in the Middle East has not risen oil prices like they said it would, like they thought it might.
Well, like they feared it would, yeah.
Like they feared it would. I don't want to say what they said it would, what they feared it would, and so that just shows that there's more countries out there, including the United States, which has the potential to continue to produce more and more and more and more, which is a good thing.
Right.
That this is happening, and oil is not $120 a barrel.
Well, even, yesterday the market seemed to settle thinking this thing between Israel and Iran wouldn't be long-lasting. And so the Dow was up a few hundred points now, and overnight pre-market down only 238. So if you look, basically a half a point across the board. Oil is up 1%. That's not a lot of movement for the things that are going on. And I think a lot of that has to do with the uncertainty that you and I have kind of laid out here. It's anybody's guess.
Or is there more certainty that
Iran can't strike?
That the nuclear program is being decimated.
Yeah.
And that what would bring the better possibility, and it may not, but the better possibility, the markets actually like the fact that Trump is backing Israel in order to destroy, if they have to, the complete nuclear program, and that the leverage the market believes is the best way to get Iran seriously talking if they wish to talk, and if they don't, well, then you can destroy the nuclear program completely. And if the regime is taken out, which a lot of it already has been. But if the Ayatollah is taken out and there's a revolution in Iran, it's not going to affect the oil markets.
Yeah.
It'll be much more internal. Is that what they're thinking?
Well, it could be that, or at the very least in that regard, that if one side is crippled, it's really not much of a war.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
It's only, yeah, it's not like other nations are going to jump in, and if they believe Iran is on its knees here, then there won't be much back and forth. A few missiles here and there toward Israel, but not a real all-out attack, which, by the way, we probably would have already seen, except for the fact, again, if they're holding a nuclear warhead or if they have that nuclear warhead right now ready to go, and there's intel that shows that. We just don't know that just yet.
866-90-RED-EYE.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
A fairly quiet corn supply and demand forecast on both the U.S. and international level per USDA. World Agricultural Outlook Board Chair Mark Jekanowski says minimal changes in the global balance sheet included.
For the back year, the crop that's currently being marketed, we reduced China's imports, a forecast of 7 million tons of corn exports by China. That would be the lowest since the 2018-2019 crop.
While updated data for both the current and new marketing years were reflected in the domestic corn ledger.
We raised our U.S. corn export forecast by 50 million bushels, reduced ending stocks by the same amount. For the out-year balance sheet, that crop that's going to be harvested this fall, with ending stocks tightening up, beginning stocks for the new crop year tighten up by the same amount. No changes to anywhere else in the balance sheet.
And no change in the season-ending average price for corn from the previous month, still at $4.20 a bushel. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up, well, I guess we have time a little bit to do a few minutes here to bring up the breaking news that you have, what the president said on the press gaggle on the plane back from Canada.
Yeah, Jennifer Jacobs, CBS News senior White House correspondent, posted this on her X page a little while ago. This goes back, in fact, a couple hours ago, but Kayleigh McEnany reposted it, just basically announcing that Trump did do a gaggle on board Air Force One coming back from G7. So here's what she writes. Jennifer Jacobs, CBS News, breaking: Trump wants a real end to the nuclear, real end, in quotations, to the nuclear problem with Iran. And this morning we'll find him at the White House Situation Room monitoring developments in the Middle East. He told us during his midnight departure from Canada, quote, I didn't say I was looking for a ceasefire, countering Macron there. He said on Air Force One, he said he wants, quote, a real end with Iran giving up entirely on nukes. The Israelis aren't slowing up on their barrage on Iran, he predicted. He said, quote, you're going to find out over the next 2 days, you're going to find out nobody's slowed up so far. And asked his thinking on calling for Tehran to evacuate. He told me he wants, quote, people to be safe. So he needs to be present at the White House, not Canada, where he can be well-versed and not have to rely on phones to know what's going on, he said. So, again, that's Jennifer Jacobs, who posted that a little while ago from CBS News. Kayleigh McEnany also reposted that to promote that the president was talking to the media.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
Internet Radio, he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Okay, more breaking news from just a few minutes ago. Trump on Truth Social, so, yeah, he's awake. I have not reached out to Iran for peace talks in any way, shape, or form. This is just more highly fabricated fake news. If they want to talk, they know how to reach me. They should have taken the deal that was on the table. Would have saved a lot of lives.
So that sounds like a response in part to the Axios story, then.
And the New York Times story also.
Yeah, and the New York Times version of that story. Yeah.
It mirrors exactly what CBS reported on the gaggle. Well, I might send, if you never know, I could send, J.D. Vance or Witkoff, to deal again. But
right.
I don't know what changed when he did that, because this is the most definitive and blunt that he has been.
Well, something changed. It was like the day before the attacks, and we knew now that, the first wave of attacks from Israel on Iran, we know now that had been days in the making, but it seemed like there was something was imminent and things were changing on the fly. Something changed, I don't know, 12 hours ago maybe, at least in the news cycle. The tone changed. I don't know what actually changed at what actual time. But, just to remind folks, here's the first line in that Axios story. The White House is discussing with Iran the possibility of a meeting this week between the U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and Iran's foreign minister. So it appears President Trump is saying, no, fake news.
Didn't they say 4 different sources?
Yeah. According to 4 sources briefed on the issue. Yeah. Well, no.
Either things have changed since that time.
Well, see, that's what I was saying earlier. Because, okay, let's say it was accurate when those 4 sources knew it,
right,
and talked to the media, whether it's Axios or New York Times. And then, because Axios put it out around 6 hours ago, I think, they posted theirs. But by the time they wrote the story and posted it, it could have been aged. And same thing with the New York Times. So maybe it was accurate at one point, or maybe it was never accurate. And Axios and the New York Times got burned.
Well, a couple of things when you put everything together that's happened really in the last maybe 18 hours, and Netanyahu on with Jonathan Karl. I don't know exactly what time that was that he was on yesterday, but when he was asked, he said, Trump, in our stories that we hear, Trump is completely against taking out the supreme leader. And he said, John, I wouldn't rush to conclusions. So you had that. Then you had Trump saying, Israel first saying, evacuate from Tehran. Then Trump came out and said, I would advise everybody to get out. And then he was asked on the press gaggle back, I don't want anybody to get hurt. And then there were, as we said, multiple explosions heard in Tehran. And then we found out they took out one of the main command centers that had the head of the military in there, who was just appointed head of the military after the last head of the military was killed. And it's like, okay, and Trump isn't saying don't do this. And look, I don't care what anybody thinks, but Israel's doing this with Trump's permission. Because if Trump didn't want it, he'd tell Netanyahu to stop it. And with that last message, though, that last Truth Social message, there is no opening in there. Nothing. There's no opening.
No, because there's no reason for him to post that on Truth Social, other than to correct a false story.
Yeah,
there is that last post on Truth Social would not be again. Well, maybe he's trying to manipulate. No. I think that's over. I think that part of the discussion is over, because it does make sense. I said before the reporter at CBS News posted it, and she was talking to the president on the gaggle on Air Force One coming back from G7. I said, and I said this to my wife, but I don't know, about 10 hours ago, the president needs to be in the Situation Room, which, by the way, is an obvious statement. And then she put that there. But the president, of course, needs to be in the Situation Room with everything going on. But there seemed to be something more imminent, that there was going to be some kind of further escalation, a more critical move in the works. And with the killing of their top military leader, the second in that position, being taken out by Israel in recent days, well, then now you have to wonder again, what is the next target? We know that Fordo is the big one, right? So that's the big nuclear site. It's closest to Tehran. It's roughly 300 feet deep underground, that by most accounts, and it requires a massive bunker buster. And the question is, how do they get that? And also, is it going to be the case that Israel's going to target the supreme leader?
He's posting all over the place the last 10 minutes on Truth Social, and this is it's really interesting because I wanted to start looking at what he had said from 11 hours ago, and the pinned one that he had on Truth Social, his pin post. And this was from 11 hours ago when he first came out and said, Iran should have signed the deal. I told them to sign. What a shame and what a waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. And then you had the one where he called Tucker Carlson kooky. This was from 10 hours ago. Somebody please explain to kooky Tucker Carlson Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And then, again, after that, he posted, America first means many great things, including the fact that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Make America great again. Then he had some others on the National Guard in Los Angeles, but then he had the one where he talked about the publicity-seeking president of France, mistakenly saying, I'll let the G7 summit in Canada to go back to D.C. to work on the ceasefire. Wrong. He has no idea why I am now on my way to Washington, but it certainly has nothing to do with the ceasefire, much bigger than that, whether purposely or not. Emmanuel always gets it wrong.
Always.
Stay tuned. And then the one from 21 minutes ago, I have not reached out to Iran for peace talks. And this is, we believe, in response to the Axios story and the New York Times story that says that they're having talks to have talks. And he's saying, I have not reached out to Iran for peace talks in any way, shape, or form. This is more highly fabricated fake news. If they want to talk, they know how to reach me. They should have taken the deal that was on the table, would have saved a lot of lives. And then just go back over again what the CBS reported on the press gaggle, if you have that in front of you.
Let me see if I do have that in front of me. I don't have that in front of me.
Well, okay. Well, basically, it was the same thing that we have said, that that he wants this thing done.
Yeah.
He doesn't really.
Here it is. I have it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Jennifer Jacobs, CBS News, posted this. This goes back a couple hours, but it was reposted by I said Kayla McEnany, Caroline Levitt here. I don't know. I have no idea why that popped into my head.
You did.
Yeah, I did, didn't I?
I was wondering why is she up and posting this? She must be working late for Fox.
I don't know. She probably is working. I was probably reading something from her earlier, but it was Caroline Levitt. So Jennifer Jacobs from CBS, and again, this goes back a couple hours, but she posted it from the gaggle that he did on Air Force One coming back from G7. Here's what she writes. Breaking. Trump wants a real end in quotations there, to the nuclear problem with Iran. And this morning, we'll find him in the White House Situation Room monitoring developments in the Middle East, he told us during his midnight departure from Canada. I didn't say I was looking for a ceasefire. That's a quote from President Trump. He said on Air Force One, he said he wants, again, quote, a real end, with Iran giving up entirely on nukes. The Israelis aren't slowing up their barrage on Iran, he predicted. You're going to find out over the next 2 days. We've actually found out in recent hours. You're going to find out nobody's slowed up so far. Asked his thinking on calling for Tehran to evacuate, he told me he wants, quote, people to be safe, end quote.
And then the post that happened after the one where he said, I've not reached out for Iran for peace talks. It's highly fabricated fake news. If they want me to talk, they know how to reach me. They should have taken the deal that was on the table, would have saved a lot of lives. That was 24 minutes ago, then 21 minutes ago. And I think he's starting to hit back at some of the political criticism from his supporters that, believed he was an isolationist.
Yeah.
He writes, America first means many great things, including the fact Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Make America great again. Then he wrote, also on Truth Social, a meme that said, I voted for Trump in 2016, voted for Trump in 2020, voted for Trump in 2024, never regretted it, not even for a second. And then he posted, he took a shot. It was unrelated, took a shot at the who's left in the squad. Mm-hmm. And then I think there was one more. No, there was a couple more. Here it is. For the first time in 4 years, we know who is running the country. So that was just verifying that he is a king, just for all of our friends on the left there.
Right.
And then he put out, never gotten over the fact that Obama was able to send $1.7 billion in cash to Iran, and nobody in Congress, the FBI, or Justice called for an investigation. He's setting the table.
So get this from Jennifer Jacobs, who was in actually, she commented on her previous post about the gaggle. She asked him on Air Force One about Tulsi Gabbard and her testimony in March. And here's what the president said. Iran is, quote, very close to a nuclear weapon. I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having them. Saying that sounds like he knew that. We knew that back then when she said it. We have no idea why she said that in March.
As when she said that in March, you and I said, fire her now.
Yeah, that's
get rid of her now.
Unacceptable.
Yep.
You can't tell it's, again, as well, but he might be playing 1 1/4 dimension chess or something. I don't know. It's no. You can't have your DNI say something like that when the entire world, all of our allies are looking on. And they all know it's not true.
Yeah.
It's maddening.
And then that followed up by her.
I
still don't understand why she even put it out there. Her Japan atomic bomb thing last week.
Right.
And then the warmongers. And
right, yeah.
She's been silent the last few days, hasn't she?
I haven't heard much from her throughout all of this. The thing on Japan was really the last big thing. It makes you wonder what's going on internally.
866-98-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Because of all the breaking news over the last 20 minutes, we never got to and that's the breaking news of Trump on Truth Social on Iran. We never got to the update we wanted to give. Just very briefly, there's a headline from Politico. Senate Republicans cool to Finance Committee's tax plan. GOP leaders have their work cut out for them ahead of the July 4th deadline to pass their mega bill. This is from Politico. Senate GOP leaders are facing early pushback over a key plank of their big, beautiful bill just hours after rolling it out, underscoring the work that remains to bring the legislation to the floor next week. Signs of discontent within the Republican conference came as the Senate Finance Chair privately briefed his colleagues Monday night on his portion of the mega bill central to enacting key elements of Trump's domestic policy. The committee is responsible for some of the most politically consequential components of the party line package, including changes to Medicaid, the fate of clean energy tax credits, and state and local deductions that is important to high tax state House Republicans. A briefing Monday was to explain the panel's rationale, answer questions, and alleviate any anxieties. But we're not doing anything to significantly alter the course of the financial future of the country, Senator Ron Johnson told reporters after that meeting, adding that the current Senate finance proposal does not meet the moment, and they would not vote for it if it came to the floor as is.
Yeah.
Still a lot of work to do.
Yeah, there sure is.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.